Okay, I'll go ahead and get started here a little bit since we got limited time. Well, I did one a couple months ago during October. It was on a Thursday though, in the evening, so I had a couple hours for that one. Okay, I guess I'll sit. Just need a fireplace and a dog now. All right, I'm Larry Yoakum III. You got to put that third in there, otherwise it's either my dad or my grandpa. And my grandpa's been dead since '97, so he can't really write. This book here is actually the fourth book of an anthology I wrote, but you can read them in any order you want because each one focuses on a different story. The first one's about redcaps, which are like dwarves. They murder travelers. The second one is Baba Yaga, the infamous Russian witch. The third one is about incubus causing sleep paralysis, which I have on occasion. Then, of course, Krampus. I was going to write a book about banshees, but then I decided to do this instead. Krampus normally, in the old folklore, he wasn't an evil creature. He was Santa's, well, compatriot, I would say. Santa punished the good, or Santa rewarded the good kids, Krampus punished the bad. And there was even stuff I read where Krampus apparently took children to hell for a year if they were bad. If that's not a deterrent to not misbehave, I don't know what is. But. And then over time, Santa became the one, oh, I just don't give presents to bad kids. They got rid of Krampus, but I'm glad he's making a resurgence. He's always been one of my favorites. And in my book here for Krampus, it's a little bit different because you're used to seeing him probably like a big furry beast with horns. My Krampus is more of a, he looks like Santa, but he's like a really disheveled, sickly, thin version. But he does have hooves and horns. But otherwise, you know, you think it's his twin brother who just didn't take care of himself. I'm gonna read, I think for now I'll read the prologue, and then if you have any questions, I'll answer them, or if you just want to just debate Krampus or whatever. And then I'll go back to reading some more, maybe just the first chapter. And this book is dedicated to those who still believe in the magic of Christmas and the danger of the things that hide in the shadows and go bump in the night. The story of Krampus is an old of a story of Santa Claus himself. Over the centuries, the tale of Krampus has taken a back seat to jolly old St. Nick as he delivers toys to the good little children of the world. Parents no longer tell their children to behave or Krampus will come for them. No one knows for certain where the myths and stories began. In the times past, some people attributed Krampus to Santa's darker assistant, and in some cases, even his brother. The truth is far stranger than any of the legends tell. All I can say for certain is this. Yes, there is a Santa Claus, and like with most aspects of light and love, there is a counterbalance of darkness and hate. This, my friends, is the true story of how Krampus came to be in our world. All right. Anybody got any questions, comments?
I mean, I kind of I've been following it for the past few years. Just the legends, you know,
right.
The celebrations, especially in Austria.
Oh,
that
yeah.
is my dream vacation, is to go to Austria 1 year to one of the celebrations.
Yeah, that would be awesome. What was that, Destination Truth? Josh Gacy went over to Germany or Austria or something, like a big Krampus parade.
Yeah.
That and Oktoberfest are the two big things I want to do in Germany.
Yeah.
In Austria, I'd love to go there too. I just want to do a whole tour of Europe.
Yeah.
I mean, last time I was in Europe, I was just there for an overnight stop, basically on the way to Bahrain. But yeah, I got to be in Germany for 3 days. We just never left the airport.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, that was fun for 3 days, sleeping in my uniform and not being able to shave. Yeah, that was the joys of the Air Force, though.
Maybe I have. It's just kind of what really got you into like thinking about the ideas of this anthology, this different subject?
Well, pretty much my whole folklore series, I wanted to take real world, mythology and folklore and stuff, and put my own spin on it. Because all my books are all in the same universe, the same reality. You're going to see characters from here in the Targathian trilogy or in Haunting of the Nobility. Although that's like probably the most independently, story that I have, because it doesn't, that one's like on its own. It doesn't tie in as much to my other works as other ones do. But I want to put my own spin. It's like a mixture of sci-fi fantasy with elements of the paranormal and the supernatural. So I kind of wanted to combine all that, because in my universe, angels and aliens aren't mutually exclusive. You get both. It's just that, angels were around first and the aliens came later. Thank you. Well, I don't think that couldn't have been my car. I mean, my keys will go off anytime I move my leg, but my horn's not that loud. Well, my idea for Krampus here, I put my own spin on it, where that's why I didn't make him the big furry beast, and he's not, Santa's helper. He's more or less the universe's answer to the counterbalance of the creation of Santa. Because it's like, oh, okay, we have something this loving and giving, okay, you have to have this counterbalance. And Krampus just kind of popped into existence with, I don't want to give too much away to it, but I'll say this much, I put kind of a sci-fi spin onto it, because Santa's elves are actually dwarves from the planet of Targoth, which is in my Targothian trilogy. They left Earth to go explore. They had like a holy calling, and they arrived on Earth. Just over the centuries, the little kids started calling them Santa's elves. And the dwarves hate that because, there's a big tension between the elves and the dwarves. They don't like one another. If it wasn't for the humans on Targoth, the elves and dwarves probably would have killed each other centuries ago. But that's why they fled. But, oh, they're going to call us elves? Fine, it's for the children, we'll do it. And the reindeer, they kind of come from another universe. Hanael is the archangel that's in my book, the Daemon Cloak of Hanael. He makes an appearance here in the spirit of St. Nicholas. Because Christoph Kringle and his wife Hannah, they're just humans who never had kids because they just never came about. So they got the opportunity to be, mother and father to the world. And so that's how he became Santa. I figured Christoph Kringle, that sounds German enough, I'll use that. I don't know if Kringle's really a last name, but then again, my universe, my roots. That's kind of why, I call it the Yoakum-verse. It's just like this universe, except it has slight variations. Angels are actually going to show up and mess stuff up. Aliens are going to actually do things. Monsters are going to eat people. But it's kind of hidden from the public, because that's why they're still regarded as stories. But, oh, you saw Krampus? No, you didn't. Just some guy in a suit. But I want to put my own spin on all this, and I kind of like to think of it as I'm not writing a bunch of books. I'm writing one big story, and I'm just breaking it up into different sections. And this one just focuses on the darker aspects of folklore. You're going to have monsters, magic, and all that. It's got a little bit of sci-fi to it, but not as much. I do try to focus more on the supernatural aspect of it. Krampus came about by an act of the universe, which it wasn't, like he was genetically created in a lab or something. But I do believe the universe has balances that are met. Okay, I was rambling there for a second, I think. Anybody else? I feel like if I say everybody else, it's like a big room, 50 or 60 people. If nobody has any other questions or anything, I'll do another little reading here from it. And this is part one, How the Santa Came to Be. The entire thing was one bloody mess. Detective Sutherland Veteran of the Sheboygan Police Department, wanted nothing more than to put in his retirement papers, but he had a dozen children and had to keep working so he'd be able to continue to feed them. But retirement really did sound good. All the things Sutherland had seen in his time as a cop had been brutal, but that was part of the gig. All the death, all the drugs, all the junkies, it was all under the umbrella of police work in the beautiful city of Sheboygan. But then why did Chuck have to die? Everyone loved Chuck Stein, who had been the street corner Santa for over 15 years. Just earlier that day, Chuck had been collecting money for the local Sheboygan home of unwanted and undesirable children. Then that fat man showed up and ruined it all. It was pure chaos on that street corner earlier today. That fat man in a red suit, an actual suit, as in a jacket and tie and dress shoes, popped up on the road with this obese man had been accompanied by a small gang of midgets, little people, who cares? They were short and they wore bright green tuxedos. And they were all heavily armed. Under orders of their fat leader, they gunned down poor Chuck just as the pulpy mess of blood, flesh, and quarters occupied the spot where the street corner Santa was standing just seconds before. What could prompt such a cold-blooded murder? To make matters worse, the interrogation held no real answers. The fat man kept claiming to be the real Santa. It wasn't that too far-fetched, he supposed. Not that he was really Santa, no, but he wasn't the first homeless person claiming to be Santa or Jesus or Jesse James. This, however, was the worst and most violent thing to happen in Sheboygan and Sutherland's entire police career. True, there was a little-known Canadian invasion that had happened during the Y2K incident, but Sheboygan's Salvation Army pushed that back. The government had demanded all involved to be signing a document of silence with the threat of life in Guantanamo Bay for breaking that silence, but the young Sutherland signed it willingly, hoping to put the past in the past. Even his own wife never knew about the invasion. That was how good the local Salvation Army was. They were truly saviors that day. Now, all these years later, violence reared its ugly head once again in Sutherland's beloved city. Sutherland began driving home, his shift over for now. Some of the things that the old fat guy said were truly bizarre and original. Apparently, according to that overweight psycho, the elves really ran the North Pole and Santa was just their delivery man. They used reindeer as personal attack dogs, and the reindeer would be coming because all those green tuxedo little people were all dead, all shot by the police that arrived on that scene. There was almost a panic when they bled gray blood, but the pathologist assured them that there was no need to contact the CDC. There was no blood-borne toxins to be a threat. Maybe they were just freaks of nature. Later that night, as Sutherland lay in bed next to his wife, he couldn't sleep. He didn't believe that fat man's story at all, but something was still amiss. He could feel it with his instincts. He didn't want to let it ruin the upcoming Christmas for his kids. Christmas of 2016 would be the best ever, even if he had to steal money from the evidence locker to pay for it. That would be the first time he did that. At least then it would be put to good use, better than some drug dealer spending it. The following morning didn't make things any better. He arrived to find a circus of activity. 5 officers were dead and 20 more injured. One of them was missing a leg. It appeared to be bitten off. Doctors and paramedics ran amok, tending to patients and trying to save as many as possible. Sutherland saw that one of his fellow officers was approaching with something in his arms. "What is that?" Sutherland asked the officer. The young cop couldn't talk, being in shock. Taking a closer look, he saw what was in the man's arms. It was the head that belonged to the fat man they arrested, the Santa wannabe. "What happened, Dave?" Sutherland asked the officer. "You're not going to believe it, sir. It was reindeer." With a heavy sigh, Sutherland went to the captain's office, placed his badge and gun on the table, flipped the finger, and turned on his heel and left. When the captain called after him, asking what he was going to be doing for a job, Sutherland just spat back, "I'll be driving Uber." That's the first chapter. I think you're right. I do need to get reading glasses.
Yeah.
I feel like Mr. Magoo up here. I bet you if you held the book up for me, I could probably read it better from a distance.
Probably.
I work for an optical supply company, but we got really horrible vision insurance. That's ironic. That's the first chapter, and that was actually kind of a paraphrase. I got a short story collection called Yoakum's Compendium of Bizarre and Original Stories. It's about 30 stories ranging from like a grocery store in hell to sentient French fries, mythical monsters, intelligent zombies, sparkling vampires, non-sparkling vampires, I mean. Vampires that don't sparkle, and they actually look at people as Happy Meals on legs. And I got 2 stories about Santa, which I kind of incorporated into this in order to keep it all in the same shared universe. And the only drawback to that is sometimes I have to come up with some really weird ways to make it all fit. It's like, wait a minute, I wrote that story, and if I do this, it's not going to make sense. I don't want to do a cop-out and say it's a parallel universe. I got to think of a way to keep it all tied in. But I figure if Stephen King and H.P. Lovecraft could do it, so can I. I know it's probably not what you were expecting for a Krampus story. Start out, a beheaded Santa corpse in a police station, but it makes sense by the time you get to the end. Yeah, that's really hard to believe, but it's true. And it's not just up in here either. It actually makes sense on paper. Now, if you saw it happening for real, yeah, it'd be kind of strange. Like reindeers as attack dogs and coming after their people who murdered their elf masters. What is this? What is this guy on? Is this actually a Krampus story? Trust me, it is. Just got to build up to it, though. I don't want to just come out and say Krampus was walking down the street, And that might be a good intro to a joke, but not a story. So, anybody got anything about, or if we can just discuss general Krampus too, if you want. It doesn't have to be this book. It could be just Krampus mythology, stories, anything you might have heard about him.
Who's your target audience for your books?
Well, for me, it's mainly people who are fans of horror, sci-fi, and fantasy. Like, I got one series of books over there, the Targaryen trilogy. I tell people it's like a combination of the Jedi, the Highlanders, and Blade. So if you like any of those 3 things, you'd like that story. If you like monsters, mythology, stuff that you can't read to your kids, this is perfect for that. And I've actually lost sales in the past because my 7-year-old likes to read. Would you recommend any of your books? No. It's like, I don't want to lie to you. I don't want any angry emails or, flaming bags on my porch. So no, don't get this for your small child. I mean, it's not like it's it's not like filled with bad language and, and sex and all that. It doesn't have all that. But I do have some pretty interesting ways of killing people. When you're an author, you have to think of these things. It's like, you look at my browsing history, are you a serial killer? No, I'm a writer. I know it's kind of hard to tell the difference sometimes, but I wouldn't want to be a serial killer. I'm too lazy. But being a writer, it's fun because you create worlds. As much as, all the messed up stuff that happens in my stories, I'd rather live in this universe than this one. Because this one, you got weird people and, my book monsters are actual monsters. I can deal with that. I can deal with vampires. I can deal with zombies. I can deal with Baba Yaga, even Krampus. But some of the people out there I can't deal with. You just watching the news, you're like, okay. Put it on a British bacon cook-off or something. Which she got me into that. Now I know the difference between scones and scones.
I didn't know there was a difference.
And macarons and macaroons. But I'm fat, I just like to eat. I really don't care what you call it. My body's falling apart. Krampus itself, though, like I said, I've always loved the whole concept of it. I mean, two of my favorite movies are Krampus and then A Christmas Horror Story. You know, I just love the fact that all the elves turn into zombies and Santa has to fight them off. And you got William Shatner as a radio DJ, you know, working the Christmas shift. You know, anything with William Shatner is perfect. You know, because he was the greatest captain of all time. Wait to see if she shot me a dirty look for that. Well, I'm the same person who says that Henry Blake was better than, you know, Colonel Potter, but because I've had bosses like Henry Blake, and they're easier to manipulate. I don't want my boss knowing more than I do. So I miss Ed. And it's my hope that one of these days I'll be able to make, you know, Netflix contact me and say, hey, we want to turn that into a movie. Because my ultimate goal is to quit my day job and do this for a living. But, you know, I mean, I'm 46. I got another 20 years before I could retire. So if I don't make it by then, I'll have more time to focus on it when I'm 65. But once I'm retired, you know, I'll have all the time in the world to focus on, you know, getting myself promoted. Fortunately, in the real world, bills to pay, you can't really, you know, like, hey, how about this advertising package? It's only $3,000, so you can make payments. Which of my bills are you going to pay so I can do this? I don't know. The person who designed my book covers for this, I use the same one for all 4 books of the series. I like the way the style is. And I can't believe I never noticed this before last year. There's a candy cane in Krampus's beard. Because I was like, I just want you to make me a zombie Santa with ram horns. And so I got this back, and I didn't notice that candy cane for like a year. Because somebody else said, like, oh, I love the candy cane. I was like, what? Oh, wow. I didn't even notice that. That's so much for my attention to detail. And the same format, I like the smoky bottom here and the font. Over there, red cap, you know, the guy's holding an axe. Baba Yaga, her face is half young, half old. Incubus, people like that one because all it is 2 red eyes staring out of the shadows. In that book, I actually put my real life sleep paralysis experiences in there. Because that's, I don't know if you've ever had it. I wouldn't wish it on anybody. I know it's nothing. It's just, you know, your body being asleep while your brain is awake. But it's just a really interesting and horrible thing to experience if you don't know what's going on. You know, I think I first had sleep paralysis when I was about 20. I was living in the barracks by that point. My mom told me she had it once before she was pregnant with me. So I was joking, oh yeah, you know, I'm a product of a sleep paralysis monster. She's like, that's not funny. But I have it like every 3 or 4 months or so. But I've actually learned now that if you just write it out, you can manipulate it into becoming a lucid dream, one with experience, which I'm still trying to get that done. You got to induce sleep paralysis first, which I don't like that feeling of when you're laying there and then suddenly, okay, I can't move. So what if Krampus comes in? Well, they say never open your eyes during sleep paralysis, otherwise you'll see stuff. It's like, okay, just keep them shut. Like, I hear stuff. Don't open your eyes, don't open your eyes. You open your eyes, dummy. It's like, well, I didn't see anything that time.
I went online, and I guess it was a link to your page. It was from the library. It was linking like,
right.
And I did see like the covers, and that kind of caught my attention of just the different details, because it kind of made me want to see what else was in there.
That's what I was hoping for. That, you know, people always want you to promote everything. Like, promote one book, and if somebody likes it, they'll see what else you have. I mean, I don't expect everybody to like everything, you know, but you know, I'm hoping somebody likes something. I just wish I had more copies of my other stuff too. But I sold most of that out on Halloween. I did a signing here October, I don't remember, the week before. The Thursday before Halloween, I had a lot more stuff then, but that was focused, you know, for horror and stuff. This is the closest thing I have to a holiday book, you know, because I just can't write anything besides horror and sci-fi and fantasy. That's who I am. I mean, I could probably get a pen name and write children's books, but I'm afraid I might suddenly have Krampus creep in there. I don't want any irate parents telling me I gave their kids nightmares. That could happen. Oh, what time is it? I just want to check my time.
11:31.
Oh, okay, good. Still got a half hour. Yeah, this is still an ongoing series. I'm debating what to do next with it. Like I said, I might either do a banshee, or I'm trying to think of another mythical creature I can do that's not done too much. I thought about doing one about archangels, but I don't want to call them a mythical creature, but I could probably do a really good one, or Nephilim, because Nephilim make a big appearance in my other series over there. Because the whole premise of that, the Archangel Michael imbues these people with power to fight, you know, vampires and space demons and stuff. So Nephilim kind of show up too. Except for me, the Nephilim, they're not like some ultimate, you know, power that's, you know, everybody would be afraid of. It's just the product of an angel and human, you know, not a big deal. Well, I know, yeah, the flood was there to wipe them all out, but, you know, my Nephilim, I can't really do that because it's modern times. That's not going to happen again. I hope. Because I can't swim. Fat's supposed to float, but I still sink. Never understood that.
So are you into like Wendigos? Anything, or is that just not your...
Oh, I like Wendigos. I've never written about one, but a good friend of mine, she wrote a story. Her name's Peggy Wheeler. I can't remember where she lives though, somewhere up north. It's called The Raven's Daughter. It's got a Wendigo in it. And the premise is the main character, she's a Native American, half Native American, half Irish cop who like quit the force, but she doesn't really like talking about her native side, but she's always embracing the Irish side. But she's got the ability to like go into like an animal and fly. And when she was like inadvertently inside of an eagle or a raven, I mean, she saw a Wendigo feeding on somebody. So that's what's like, oh, those missing people. So she, you know, it becomes like a detective murder mystery from that point, but with a Wendigo as the monster. But it's a really good book. If you ever want to check it out, The Raven's Daughter. You know, like I said, I don't remember where she's at. I got author friends all over the country. I can never keep track of where they're from. It's like, where are you from again? All I know is up north. I think like somewhere in New England. And I got a good friend who, he was in Arizona, but he got engaged and then moved to Colorado, which I don't know why they wanted to move to Colorado. So why don't you move to Dallas, man? But he's one of those guys, he's not for everybody. He's got two types of books. One's political satire. He makes fun of everybody. And then he's got, you know, fiction. It's not anything like paranormal stuff. It's, you know, real world fiction. Like a computer hacker, rigged elections. He's got like a short story collection about Albuquerque, just different stuff like, you know, drug dealers and loud neighbors, you know, just a variety of things. It's a good for a laugh book, you know, because he's got a pretty interesting take on stuff. You know, but if you got no sense of humor politically, you don't want to read his other stuff. But he offends everybody.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter what side of the spectrum you're on, you read him and go, I hate that guy. Or you're gonna go, I love this guy. So that's why I stick to this stuff. I think everybody likes monsters. But so this time of year it's harder to do it because, you know, September and October, that's my prime time. That's when I do a lot better because of the stuff I write. But this is Christmas season. It's like, well, I got a holiday book now, so I guess I qualify as a Christmas author. And Christmas happens in this book, you know, it's not the main focus, but it's there. But Santa, yeah, he's light, Krampus is dark. But oh yeah, that's what I like about all my books, they're all like one big universe. I've actually had people say, I wasn't expecting that guy randomly to show up in this book. That was neat. I got one book over there where I got a character who's mentioned like just in one paragraph, and then he leaves the galaxies, like he goes off into space, never to come back. I'm going to do a whole book about him and what happens when he leaves and goes out into the depths of space. That'll give me a chance to talk about new galaxies, new civilizations, because all my stuff takes place in what I call the three galaxies. It's Milky Way, Andromeda, and Triangulum. Technology only allows you to travel between those three. You can't go anywhere else. And that's just by, you know, storytelling necessity. I don't want to have to come up with even more stuff out there to come in. You know, everything's going to be, there's three galaxies is enough, you know. Especially, you know, having Andromeda thrown in. And not everybody talks about Triangulum very much. I never even heard of it until a couple of years ago. I was looking at a map of the known universe and I found our galactic superclusters, like hundreds of galaxies, but then Milky Way, Andromeda, and Triangulum, and about 100 or so mini galaxies around us. Whereas we have billions and billions of stars, these only have like tens of thousands. They're like a lot smaller. So I excuse myself in those, but they're uninhabitable. Nobody can actually live in there, so I don't have to worry about going in there and exploring them. Just the three. But then a lot of it's going to take place on Earth too, so it's not like this one here talks about other worlds, but it's going to be just on Earth. And the North Pole. But I opened myself up for another potential book story with the hollow Earth theory, because the North Pole, there's like a giant vortex that leads into the middle of the Earth. That's kind of like my backdoor plot for down the road. I'll do one about civilizations inside the Earth. And maybe, you know, Santa could be there to be the guardian also to keep them from invading. Had another few ideas like that. A lot of my stuff, I even mentioned in one of my books a rock group called Blood Money, because I was going to do my first non-horror book about a group of guys that started a band. Like, it was going to be in the future when the band broke up and they got back together, and then they're being interviewed by the magazine, talking about how they got together and all this stuff. It's going to be kind of like a rock bio with a made-up band. I guess kind of like this is Spinal Tap, except there are going to be 4 guys from my hometown. I just have to look into the copyrights on that, because can I even mention Motley Crue and their songs in this? Because basically they're fans of Motley Crue, and that's why they start the band. And then in 2000, when all the music turns to crap because it's all boy bands and stuff, they start bringing classic 80s arena rock back, so they get popular. And I got a few reasons I'm going to have them break up the band and get back together. It sounds kind of cliche, but you know, that's what people like sometimes with rock bios. They want the band to break up and get back together. Which, on the Motley Crue bio, when they got back together, it was all happy, but it's like, no, that's not how happy it was when they got back together. They had their lawyers involved.
Yeah.
They weren't getting along. They were just doing it because John Crosby wasn't selling records. It wasn't John's fault, you know. He just wasn't the right voice. I mean, you need Vince. And granted, he was kind of an egomaniac, but all rock stars are egomaniacs. That's what happens. You treat them like, you know, like they're gods, you know, they get that way.
He's his own person. He's very, he wanted to be the center.
I always thought it was funny though how he had 2 solo albums out before they even got their first one out when they were with Crosby. It's like, they weren't great albums, but at least he was doing it. Nicky was trying to get all perfect with like, oh, we need a new sound to bring us into the 90s. No, you don't. There's a reason why your fans didn't like that album. Yeah, a couple of years back, we were going to go to the Motley Crue concert, but it was too expensive. So instead, you know, for Christmas, she got me a copy of The Dirt. Really big, thick book, but really good. A lot of stuff that you don't get to see in the movie too. I don't know if you've really read it, but I love Mick Mars's chapters. They're like a page long, and then Nikki's is like 15. But Mick is like, well, yeah, I had back pain, so I took pills, and then I played the guitar. Into the chapter.
He's very mysterious and very short with things.
He is from Mars.
Yeah. My youngest daughter is named after Nikki. Her name is actually Nikki 6.
Oh,
so,
cool.
She's not here today. She's with her dad right now. My husband took her.
That's a cool name.
Yeah.
So Nikki 6 is her first and middle name?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
We're huge Motley Crue fans.
Yeah, that's pretty much all I listened to in junior high and high school. Well, that and Metallica, and I like Kiss, but I just like their older stuff. And then AC/DC. And I still listen to the same music after all these years. I just can't do the new stuff. As far as I'm concerned, music died December 31st, 1989. Once the 90s came along, it turned into grunge, flannel shirts, yeah. Which that makes me feel really old, because when I listen to 92.5, classic rock, they play Pearl Jam.
And Metallica and...
Well, I can handle Metallica, but Pearl Jam.
Classic rock now.
Anything over 20 years old is considered classic. Then I'm like, oh God, does that mean Pearl Jam is classic now? Nirvana? I hated those guys. I mean, I can handle Metallica. They've been around since 1981.
Yeah.
Same with Motley. You know, Kiss has been around since 74. Def Leppard, I think, 78. And then like, why are they playing Pearl Jam? I didn't like the stuff when it was new. If I ever turn on 92.5 and they're playing the Backstreet Boys, then we're done. I will personally go down there and, you know, throw eggs at Bo Roberts if I have to. He wouldn't play it though.
He wouldn't play it.
Yeah. I don't know about Jeff K, but
yeah, not Bo though.
Yeah, I don't think Bo would do that. Jim wouldn't let him. Bo, sober up, man. Really gonna play Justin Bieber? Are you kidding me? Now, that'll be down the road, but by the time that becomes classic, Bill will be retired, I think. So I think he's probably in his 60s now, so he's probably gonna be retiring eventually. I don't know though. If I had a cool gig like a DJ in a radio station, I wouldn't care about retiring. If I slump over dead on the air, that's it. Fine. Die doing what I loved. That's why I want to do this for a living. I'm never gonna stop writing. You know, I could be dead and my ghost is going to write. And I'm still going to be writing after I'm dead. You have to possess somebody to do it. You know, but the job I do all day, you know, I'm a shipping forklift driver, a lot of heavy lifting. I don't want to be doing that in another 20 years. I mean, I'm 46 now, you know, I can barely handle it as it is. But can't I get like a young person over here to be my assistant? Or are you trying to either kill me or run me off? I haven't decided what you're trying to do to me yet. But this, yeah, I will definitely be doing this till the day I die. I don't know what I'll be writing, and you know, what kind of books I'll be writing when I'm 60. Be kind of interesting to see because, you know, I don't think my style is going to change. I mean, up here I still feel like I'm 20. You know, I haven't matured any. You know, I'm still a very immature person. But at my age, if I haven't grown up by now, I don't have to. So if I can get away with being this way, I can. As long as I never had a participation trophy, I like what I like. Some of my stuff too, the Targathian trilogy over there, that's based off of several things. One being some of the weird dreams I had when I was 7 about some symbols and stuff, which is where I got the name Targoth and the symbol of Targoth and all that. And then being influenced by Star Wars, Highlander, all that type of stuff, epic space stuff. This stuff all comes from my influence by things like Tales from the Dark Side, Stephen King, sneaking up to watch horror movies on HBO after my parents went to sleep when I was 5. That was back when, they didn't have child-proof locks on that stuff, 1980. My parents would go to bed at 9 o'clock, I'd get up and go in the TV room and turn on HBO and like, ooh, Evil Dead, what's this? Friday the 13th, Halloween, So I turned out okay. I'm not some weirdo living in a shack out there somewhere. Although if I was, I wouldn't have to work and I can actually do this all the time. And that'd be a good gimmick. Hey, that guy's he lives in a shack out in the woods. Let's see what kind of messed up stuff he writes about. And they go up to the book, it's all love poetry. Be a big disappointment. But I do have a poetry book, but it's not really my strong suit, so it's not very big. I mean, it's not bad, I just don't talk about it a lot because I'm not a poet. I mean, half the stuff in there, half it's poetry, half it's written articles I did when I was bored at some points, like in the military or even in high school. I would write like fake memos and stuff to like members of the coven. The annual sacrifice will be postponed this evening, blah, 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 blah. The teacher will walk by and you got your assignment done? Good? Oh, okay. Go on. But a lot of that stuff too, I would just like write random weird stuff when I was bored. So between that and the poetry, and the poetry ranges from serious to some goofy stuff, like a poem about coffee. I got one about bananas. But then I got dark stuff about, the Armageddon and heaven and hell. So people are going to read that and go, okay, is he light or dark poetry? I can't tell. So I think he should be taken to get a CAT scan or something, because something's wrong with this guy. It's like, no, there's nothing wrong with me. I'm just a little different. That's what I tell people. But if you know any writers, none of us are normal. That's why we write, because we're not normal. One of my favorite aspects of the Yoakum verse, and I mentioned this in the prologue of my third Targathian trilogy. In 2020, there was a little something called COVID, but it disappeared after 3 months. I was doing that wishful thinking that it would actually convert into the real world. But nope, that didn't happen. I only did that basically because I don't want any of my books to focus on that down the road. It's like, okay, it came and it went. Now let's focus on the alien invasion that's happening now, or let's focus on those dead people that keep crawling out of the grave. Or, why are those French fries looking at me? There's one story called Lord of the Fries. That's about sentient French fries. This evil god punishes his followers by turning them into French fries if they disobey him. It's going to make you look differently at French fries next time you eat it after you read that. You'll be like, And there's also, he has like Lord of the Onion Rings, the Mayonnaise Mistress, the King of Burgers. I didn't want to say Burger King, Didn't want the wrong person to read it and go, hey, we're going to sue him. I want all your sales from this book. Okay? It's $10 a copy. I make $4 per book. Here's $4. I've only ever sold one. I'll be sure to keep you informed if more people buy it. So yeah, I made $4. I'm going to put that on my taxes. I want the government to get more of my money. As if they don't get enough. Sorry, I tend to yammer and ramble at times. And I think I know why. I haven't had enough of this. Being an author means you turn this into words. Okay, I'm done rambling. Anybody got any other questions to set me off on another tangent?
When did you write your first book?
The first book I didn't actually publish my first one until 2008, and that was a collection of short stories. I wrote a lot of those while I was in the military, I was over in Bahrain. I had a lot of time, so I wrote one out with pen and paper. And when I got back, I transcribed it onto a computer. And this is 3 pages. My hand hurt after writing all that stuff. So I fleshed it out. It was a pirate story. Lost in One-Eye, Dread Pirate of the Mediterranean. I'll put little things in there because I've actually only had one person call me out on this. I put a flock of seagulls reference in that story. He's overlooking on this ship and he sees a flock of seagulls and they flew so far away. Only one person who ever read that story got that reference. And at one point he yells out, "Firefly!" What? Oh, sorry, I just thought to speak German for a second. Open fire. That was when I was on my Rammstein kick. A friend of mine at work got me into Rammstein, so I was listening to a song called Firefly. Just basically means open fire. But how about he just blurts it out in German? Is he a German pirate? No. But, you know, he's a pirate. He's probably crazy. Maybe he's been to Germany. I don't know. I'll cover that in the sequel. 2008 was when I did that. That was with Publish America, a vanity publishing company. I was young and stupid. It means they publish you for free, but they publish you as is. If you miss any typos or anything like that, it gets published. And then they want you to buy granted, I buy my own copies from Amazon and I sell them, but the thing is, they want you to buy a $50 package, so you can get 5 of your books for a sample to show to people. And then we'll take your book to Oprah and she'll put it on the show, only $200, and choose a shipping option to activate. Shipping option? I'm not shipping anything. You're talking to her about it was a scam. And they even got called out on it by a lot of people and they changed their name to America Star Books. Still doing the same thing. My contract was 7 years. And I actually was stupid enough before I caught on to publish, I would say 3 books, but I don't really count my autobiography because I got roped into that one. I didn't really care about doing it. But my first 2 were done, short story collections. I had to wait 7 years on each one. And I had to tell them to cancel it because otherwise it would have automatically renewed. I almost gave up on it because I was very discouraged. But then I started doing my Targaffian book because I've always wanted to do that. And then when they finally expired, I took the stories from those 2 collections, put them in one big one, and added some stories I made since then. It was the Arachnid Anthology and Tales of Things That Should Not Be. I put them all together into Yoakum's Compendium of Bizarre and Original Stories. That's a mouthful. I should have kept it with Tales of Things That Should Not Be. They wanted me to pay $400 if I wanted to take the book covers with me, and another $300 to have the formatted file. I can reformat it myself. I'm not paying $300 for your PDF file, which technically I already have in my possession. And what are you going to do about it? There's no way to prove it. All because a font for the chapter title is a certain way. I'll change that font. Then you can't do anything to me. Independently published is better. I don't have a contract with anybody. I'm not beholden to anybody else, any publishers. I can do whoever I want to for editing and proofreading. I don't have their people doing it. But grant a real publishing house, you don't pay them. They're supposed to like your book enough to go, okay, we're going to publish it. And we're going to take this much of the royalties, blah, blah, blah. A lot of people come to me, hey, you want us to publish? Okay. Well, this package is $1,000 and we'll publish it here and blah, 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 blah. I'm not paying you $1,000. Well, you can do it in payments. So every author I've talked to, whether they're independent or published, no, you don't pay the publisher, they pay you. So that's a scam. Which is why I'm still self-published through Amazon's, it used to be CreateSpace, now it's a KDP. They combine that together with their ebooks. I'm self-published, and then I'd rather do that. I call the shots. I'm the ultimate say. Even if I'm never a multi-millionaire famous author like Stephen King, at least I'm in control. Now, if I had his notoriety and stuff, it probably wouldn't matter because he can write down his grocery list and they'll publish it. He can write a story about a scary lamp monster and they'll publish it. And he's one of those guys, doesn't matter what he writes, they'll publish. And I'm still an unknown. I mean, I have a small fan base. Basically, just anybody who follows me on Facebook. But anybody who has read my books, they like them, which I'm happy with that. I mean, they tell you not to look at your reviews on Amazon, but I still do once in a while. I've never gotten anything less than 4 stars on average, except for this one anthology I put together with another author. And I really got ripped on that because the reason why the ratings are so low, she said something stupid on social media and it got everybody to turn on her. I'm like, please do not associate me with her just because we put a book together. We don't live in the same state. I wouldn't even qualify her as a friend. She's a nut job. I mean, even what she said, even I thought like, oh God. Words have consequences. Yeah, freedom of speech, you can say what you want, but people can also react how they will. That's the thing. It's like, well, you're entitled to your opinion. That's great. So is everybody else. So if you say what you're going to say, they're going to dog you for it, and they're not going to be. And somebody actually said, I'll never buy her book because of what she said, and anybody else who supports her, they probably feel the same way she does. That generalization. Like, okay, I just like the poetry book. Doesn't mean I agree with her. I like the poetry book. I don't know, maybe because I helped, edit and format it because I was trying to be nice. But ever since then, I was like, no, I'm not dealing anymore with this person. It was funny too, it's like, talking about a code of honor. I was raised by bikers and code of honor. Like, no, what you just said means nothing about a code of honor. It means you're an idiot. Real bikers, they got codes of honor. Kind of twisted, but they have them. Military, police, they got codes of honor. You're just a nitwit. And then she's trying to say she's a Wiccan, like peace and love. Like Wiccans are about not harming or judging anybody, and what you said does not sound Wiccan. So don't say you're a Wiccan just because it's trendy. That's what a lot of people do. Like, I'm a Wiccan. Like, you really believe that, or are you just saying that because you're trying to sound cool? Just come out and say it. You're a witch.
She's probably the other one with the B. More like it. She's confused.
Yeah, but she's like Baba Yaga without the charm. At least Baba Yaga, has some real power to say so in things. Well, my Baba Yaga, I was actually introduced to Baba Yaga when I played D&D in high school. There was a game called The Dancing Hut of Baba Yaga. And I first started reading about her, the hut inside of it, it was a small hut that was bigger on the inside, kind of like on Doctor Who. And it would like dance around on its chicken legs. It's like, oh, okay. Well, and I read about okay, she actually has a hut with chicken legs. So I didn't make that part up. That's actually in the mythology.
I've been praising her.
Except my Baba Yaga's a cannibal. And she's pretty vile too. One of my friends who read the book, he's like, oh man, I just got halfway through. I can't believe how vile this person is. But, well, she kind of wrote herself that way. Oh, is it time?
Just about like a minute till.
Oh, okay.
Although there's no rush. I mean, you can see, we're just overrun with people.
Oh yeah, I'm like all stressed out.
How many people in here?
My PTSD and claustrophobia is acting up now.
Sorry.
Well, that's about how book signings are. Either a lot of people show or very few.
Yeah, you get nobody. I know.
There was one I did years ago for this. You remember that one over at that comic shop? It rained really horribly. And I think that's probably what kept people away because it was practically flooded on the streets. Everyone's like, you want to reschedule? No. I can tough it out.
Well, tonight is supposed to be the Christmas village thing tonight at the park across the street.
Ah, cool.
Which you know. If you guys came back later, I mean, we could just show our stuff over, y'all could hang out then too, if you wanted.
Cool.
It's supposed to run from 5 to 8, but
That's one of the things I miss about living here in Rowlett. A lot of cool stuff.
seems like it.
Plus the liquor store was right up the road.
See, now that was the one downside to Denton, and you had to go to Louisville.
Well, they're all over now and then.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
I was there when we voted that. I was like, heck yeah.
Yeah, we vote. That's one of the few things that got me out of bed early to go vote on a Saturday was, we're gonna go vote for the liquor. Let's go.
Yeah, I think it was the highest turnout in Denton that year. Like, heck yeah.
But landslide, wow.
Yeah, Texans don't drink.
And this here concludes the signing.